Hey everybody, welcome to Rants by Michaela. So I just found out that Whoopi Goldberg was suspended from The View for 2 weeks after some remarks that she made regarding the Holocaust and saying that the events that took place with Hitler and his Nazis were not racially motivated. After she made these comments, some representatives from the studio and the network decided to have a talk with her and let her know that the comments that she made were very hurtful and she may want to rethink her position on the topic. After having spoken to one of those representatives, she went ahead and appropriately apologized because she never meant to offend or hurt anyone with her statement. And I think that was the right thing to do. But nevertheless, she was still suspended for 2 weeks. I don't think a lot of people truly grasp what it is that Whoopi Goldberg said. So I want to go ahead and kind of explain it in more detail so that everyone gets an idea of exactly what it is that she said. She said that the events that took place during the Holocaust were not racially motivated. And she was correct. She was very accurate in her statement. Because Hitler and his Nazis chased after people to kidnap, separate them from their families, and eventually kill them because they were Jewish. And there's no such thing as a Jewish race. There is a Jewish culture. There is a Jewish religion. But there is no such thing as a Jewish race. Now, Whoopi Goldberg knows all too well, as an American of African descent, what racial prejudice is, considering how much racial discrimination she has had to deal with over her years of life. But racial prejudice and racial discrimination are not the same as anti-Semitism. A person can be prejudiced against a Jewish person because that Jewish person is either Jewish by religion or Jewish by culture. Jewish by culture meaning that they are a Jew by default because their mother is also Jewish. So there is no Jewish race here that exists in the world. Now, I'm originally from Los Angeles. I'm a native Los Angelian. I like to split my time equally between San Fernando Valley and West Hollywood. West Hollywood is my home. If I go to Sherman Oaks in the San Fernando Valley, I will be surrounded by a predominantly Israeli Jewish population. But if I go all the way west over to Woodland Hills, I'm going to be surrounded by a predominantly Persian Jewish population. Persian meaning from Iran. Not Iran, but Iran. If I go across the hill and I go into West Hollywood, I will be surrounded by a predominantly Russian Jewish population. And if I go to any one of these three groups of people and I ask them what is their race or what is their heritage, they're going to tell me either Persian, Russian, or in some cases, someone will tell me Israeli, even though nationality-wise they are from Israel. There's no Israeli race. A lot of the people who are in Israel right now, who are Jewish people, they are the descendants of people who fled the Holocaust. But their families were either from Poland, Yemen, France, Germany, Italy, so on and so forth. So someone may tell me what their nationality is, meaning they were born in Israel, or living in Israel, and they carry an Israeli passport, but not racially Israeli. So Whoopi Goldberg's comments were accurate. It was not racially motivated. Now, that's not to say that prejudice didn't occur. It's just that it's not racial prejudice. She understands racial prejudice as a black woman living in America. Anti-Semitism is not racial prejudice. So what she said was accurate. Judaism, at the end of the day, is a religion. It is the parent religion to Christianity and Islam. Christianity being the dominant religion of the Western world. It is the original Abrahamic religion of all three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I have a lot of respect for the Jewish faith, and I feel like a lot more people need to do more research about what is the Jewish faith. Because I have walked into a church where a person said Muslims don't praise the same God as Christians do, and yet Islam is also a descendant of Judaism, just as Christianity is. And I feel like if a person doesn't know that, then they are not qualified to preach. But Judaism is a religion and subsequently became a culture, but it is not a race. And with just a little more education about what Judaism is and what Jewish culture is, I feel like less people would have been offended by some of Whoopi Goldberg's comments. And less poorly educated people on the topic of Judaism and Jewish culture would have been able to gather together in groups to be able to make enough noise that this senseless suspension would have never occurred in the first place, and then there wouldn't be anything to talk about. So this is just food for thought. Let's go ahead and try to understand the other person's perspective first and where they're coming from before we get so quick to get offended. Because this 21st century overly sensitive, based off of little education cancel culture that we're experiencing right now is 100% inappropriate. Anyway, that's my rant. You guys have a good day.